Today's toy spot is on the DC Direct Superman the Last Son. This is Series 1 of action figures, and today we're starting with our review of Superman. For all the times I get an email from somebody asking me what is one of my favorite Superman figures, generally I always tend to go back to this guy right here. I'll get into my reasons why after we get through the package end of it. Not really much to say in the way of package. We got a picture of Superman in the back corner there. Kind of a black and white image. Down below we got the Superman logo. And similar to the Wonder Woman Series 1 of figures, they actually have applied a sticker. They've applied a sticker to a generic card. On the back of the package, the other figures in this wave, we've got Zod, we've got Ursa, Superman, and Bizarro. It says, from the pages of the best-selling Last Son storyline from the Action Comics, written by Richard Donner and Jeff Johns, and designed by Adam Kubert. Superman is for a surprise when he takes on a Kryptonian boy who's the son of longtime enemies Ursa and Zod. A read-up on Superman says, while he may be the Man of Steel, Superman's heart is not, especially when it comes to supposedly orphaned Kryptonian boy who has ended up on Earth, much like himself. It's a mixed bag, really, for this particular line, and I'm sure I'll comment it further as I do the other figures in this review. But let's not do that right now. Let's actually get the package opened up here on Superman, and we will have a look at the Superman figure. Stay tuned. One of the things they actually did right with this figure is they included a very appropriate and very cool display stand. A circular display stand. Not a fan of the Batman Superman display stand, which is the red Superman shield inside of the Bat logo. We've actually got ourselves just a traditional Superman S. Can't get any better than that. So right off the bat, that's one reason why I like this figure as much as I do. Let's actually have a look at the figure. The other reason why I like this figure as much as I do is just the fact that the Superman itself breaks all conventional molds of what a Superman figure should look like. I don't want to say I'm tired of it, but I get very tired of seeing the DC Direct Superman figures, and they always tend to look like the same kind of figure. It's the very older kind of. Well, a good example was the Death of Superman, or the Reign of Superman line. That Superman was used in the Regenerated line. I got the name wrong, I'm sure. But they've always kind of gone with a more classic style of Superman. And one thing I really like about this Superman is that build-wise, the way it's designed, and also his face, it's so different than the other Superman figures that have been released in the past. Details such as the shield. The logo, the Superman S, very different than other Superman figures that we've seen in the past. It still keeps to the idea of what the Superman S should look like, but still slightly tweaks it to kind of give it its own character. Yes, in fact, unfortunately, it's a shame that the Superman carries over the Superman Returns S on his belt. That's the one thing I really don't like about it. If anything, if they kept the shield or the shape of the Superman S the same, but it actually didn't put the S there, if it was just a triangular piece, I think I would like it fine. But I'm not a fan of the double logo, the double symbol. Never been a fan. I don't think I ever will be a fan, and one of the things I didn't like about the Superman Returns costume. One thing else I like about this Superman is, I think the easiest thing is the face. It keeps to the idea of Superman. iconic design of Superman. But again, just slightly tweaks it, slightly gives it that edge, that kind of chiseled look that you don't tend to get in most Superman figures. So another reason why I quite like this figure. Also, is just the size, the build of Superman. Little silly in some aspects, like the fact that his hands are about the size of his head. But what I like though is the fact that they've given him a really broad chest. They've kind of given him a broad leg. He's really actually a really beefed Superman. And again, really different than what we would normally see in a Superman figure. The cape is done very well also. And of course, using the Superman S on the back as well. But there's really a lot of aspects to this figure that I really like. It's not a perfect Superman, but it is certainly one of my favorites. And in the way of his articulation, Superman can only really turn his head left and right. There is no ball joint in the head, but he does have somewhat of a ball joint in his shoulders. No articulation in the bicep, but you can bend the elbow. You can rotate the hand. No articulation from the looks of it in his waist, but he does have articulation in the legs as well as the knees. It's one of those things that you probably, looking at it, you'll either be a real fan of the design of it or you won't. Again, this is a bit of a hit or miss line, being that a lot of the designs based on the story itself, unless you follow the story, you probably will not like the figures. Being the Zod, the Ursa, even the Bizarro. Again, if you didn't follow Last Son, you might not like the figures. And I say to you, if you're not quite a fan of those figures, at least if anything, give the Superman a try. Superman, I'm going to give him an 8. He's different, and he definitely looks different than the other Superman figures on a display. He's well worth picking up, guys. So that was a toy spot. Today, we were looking, we'll bring the camera down here. We were having a look at the DC Direct Series 1 figures of Superman Last Son. Today we were looking at one of my favorite Superman figures. We're looking at the Superman himself. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.